Thank you, Bill and Brian and Kent and Todd. Whew. Isn't it funny what life brings to us and what choices we have to lean into the good times, dance in the rain? We've been through a lot the last couple years as a species with the pandemic and all that has been going on. And we've re-examined oftentimes what's really important. Why are we really here? One of Unity's core premises is that we live in an abundant universe. That's been one of our core premises from day one, way back in 18 whatever. When Charles and Myrtle first had this dream, this idea of asking ourselves, do we practice a religion about Jesus, or do we practice the religion of Jesus? If you think about Jesus, he walked around, he taught. We don't know what he did for 30 years before, but for 3 years, he trusted. Probably for longer than that, but for at least 3 that we know of, he trusted God for his source, for all that he needed to carry out his work. And we think he was special, and he was. But he always said, all that I can do, you can do, and what? More. And in the original language that he spoke, in the Aramaic, when you believe what I have said. He always said, I have come that you may have life and have it very good, abundantly. So, and the Buddha said many of the same things. Muhammad said many of the same things. Every great teacher has said many of the same things. We live in an abundant universe. I think sometimes we forget. We look at the storms around us, we look at the economies, we look at the social media, we look at the news media, and we forget. And we move from that place of knowing to a place of fear. I think one of the big problems we have, especially in religion today, is caused by the rise of something called the prosperity gospels. And I want to clarify what those are and how what we are teaching is different. The prosperity gospels teach that if you are found worthy in God's eyes, you are rewarded with financial and material wealth. And if you do not have that, then you are not worthy in God's eyes. That is not what we teach. We teach that every human being is worthy in God's eyes. Yes. You are created worthy. No exceptions. So how do we begin to move back into this awareness that our great teachers had? That we live in an abundant universe. Well, I think we have to begin to examine, what does that mean? What does the word abundance mean? And how is it different from prosperity? It's an important difference. Abundance means that there is more than enough that all that could possibly be needed for every living thing to thrive. I'm going to say that again. There is more than enough of all that could possibly be needed for every living thing to survive and thrive. More than enough food, more than enough shelter, more than enough clothing, more than enough financial resources, more than enough, you name it. The universe is created to thrive, and everything in it is meant to thrive. And yet the majority of humanity is not experiencing that. Why is that? Well, as I said, part of it is because we look around us, and the messages that you receive many times 6 days a week, except for an hour on Sunday morning. I almost wish I could get into your head 7 days a week, like Facebook and all of those things do. I know a lot of you don't do that. We hear messages, things are tough. You got to hang on to everything you got and try to get more and hang on to it. And then we look around the world. And we see people right here in our own community who are unhoused, people who are starving, people who are barely getting by. So what is it we need to move to discover, to change this, to shift it? Well, we need to move to the next higher level of abundance. And one of the ways we do that is begin changing our thinking from, I am so glad I am here, to, why am I here? Why are we here together? Why are we on this journey together? Is it only because we love each other? I say only. Because if we only love each other, what do we do outside of our walls? How do we expand that? You know, I truly believe that as we watch the crumbling of traditional Christianity in our world, that we have something the world needs. And that's not ego saying, that is experience. That we have something the world is hungry for. I talk to our young people. They don't want traditional Christianity. They want spirituality that changes things. Not just for them, but for the world as a whole. And I believe that especially with the young generation coming up, there's a major shift happening. Old ways are dying out. And when old ways die out, there is what? Chaos. Chaos. I love the saying, when one door closes, another opens, but it's hell in the hallway. We're in the hallway, folks. But some things have to fall apart for something new to be born. And moreover, I believe the new consciousness that is arising, which is the consciousness that Jesus taught, is to help everyone experience prosperity. Oh, there's a different word. We've been talking about abundance. What is prosperity? Well, before I tell you, let's look a little deeper at abundance. Abundance is what in Jesus' day was called the kingdom of heaven. We live in an abundant universe. Jesus said, the kingdom is at hand, the kingdom is within. You're in it. It's all around you. There is all possibility, all supply, all realization, all divine ideas are right here in the world in which you live, move, and have your being. You have never been outside of an abundant universe. It is not possible. So what is prosperity then? If abundance is the allness that God is, in which we live and move and breathe and have our being, then what is prosperity? Prosperity is the art of bringing abundance into manifestation. You hear the difference? It is taking it from the realm of the invisible and making it visible. Charles Fillmore wrote, "Get into abundance thinking and you will demonstrate prosperity. Cultivate the habit of thinking about abundance everywhere present for everyone, not only in the forms of imagination, but in forms outside of yourself." It requires more than just thinking, though. It requires believing and acting. Let me give you an illustration of how it works. Imagine you are a ship. You're on a ship. You can imagine you're a ship. It's okay. It's your imagination. Imagine you're on a ship. An old-fashioned sailing vessel, beautiful, graceful lines, shining white sails in the morning sun, catching the winds, sailing on a sea of allness. A sea where every need, every desire, every great unknown thing is all around you. That's what your ship sails upon. You are immersed in it. You are surrounded by it. And you notice that as you sail forward, anytime you need food or anything else, it's right there. You just dip your net in and pull it out. There is no time when you're away from that. But on the horizon, there are storm clouds. And you see those storm clouds. And in your humanness, you get scared. Oh my gosh, a storm, there's going to be big waves. I'm going to be dashed to pieces. And you pull in your sails and you stop moving. Though the wind blows, you do not move, except to go up and down with the waves. Kind of like going up and down with the economy. Kind of like going up and down with experiences in your life, with health, with wellness, with relationships. You're at the mercy of the outer. Now, any good sailor knows that's not what you do. You put your sails up, you sail into the storm, and you sail through it. If you just let yourself float, the waves come and they roll your boat over and you sink. Jesus told us, there's a similar story about Jesus. And it's from Mark. On that day when evening had come, he said to his disciples, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. And the other boats were there with them. And a great storm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But Jesus was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. And they woke him up and said, "Teacher, do you not care that we are dying?" And he awoke, and he rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Now I'm going to stop there for a second. I don't believe he said, "Peace, be still." I think he kind of looked around and said, and I suspect he was saying it more to the people on the boat, "Peace, be still." And there was a great calm. And he said to them, "Why are you so afraid?" And I'm going to paraphrase here. "Peter, you're a fisherman. You know there are storms. You know how to sail your boat through it. You've done it. Why are you so afraid? Have you no faith?" Storms happen. Storms happen. Peter was a fisherman. He should have known that. But why was he afraid all of a sudden? Peter, by the way, represents the power of faith. His faith faltered. We all have those times when the storms are brewing around us. Health issues, relationship issues, when we see our community and it's hurting and we want to make it better. But we fear that we are not strong enough, capable enough. But we don't try to go around the storm. Jesus basically said to Peter, "Stop whining and sail on." Let me share with you some of my story on how faith can work. I knew from probably middle school that I wanted to be a minister. Not wanted, I needed to be a minister. There was something calling in here. Now, I had never heard of Unity. I was raised Episcopalian. And so I began to work towards that direction throughout my whole life without really realizing it. It wasn't a thing in my head, really. But looking back on it, I could see I was on that journey. And I eventually found my way to Unity. And I trusted God. I studied. I tithed. I kept my eye on my vision. By that time, it was beginning to become a little clearer. But there was a storm. And the storm was, you don't have a college degree. And we won't let you into Unity School unless you have a college degree. Now, in that seas that I had been sailing on that journey, I had worked as an engineer without a college degree. There are ways to do it. You have to educate yourself. I had taught school without a teaching degree. There are ways to do that. But I couldn't get into Unity School. But something told me that on the other side of that storm, there was a way. I didn't know what it was. Everything said it's impossible. So I decided, well, I'll become a licensed Unity teacher. At least I can do that. 3 times I tried. First time, I was halfway done and they changed the program and I had to start over again. Second time, I was halfway done and they changed the program and I had to start over again. Storms within Unity itself. Third time, they didn't change anything and I made it through. And then one day somebody said to me, "Why aren't you a minister?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a college degree." And they said, "Well, Jesus didn't have a college degree. Charles didn't have a college degree, as far as I know." Doors opened. That's what happens when we keep our eye on our goal, on the vision, on what can be. There are those who say the problems we face in the world today are not solvable. They say homelessness is too overwhelming. Baloney. They say climate change can never be reversed. Want to make a bet? They say there's not enough resources for everybody to have all they need. Yes, there are. Studies have shown over and over and over again, there's more than enough food for every human being. There's more than enough finances for every human being. We just have to get in the consciousness of that. We have to trust the universe. Those that do, we are part of the Great Awakening. I believe truly that we are here today, all of us, not just in this room, but there are people around the world who are part of this Great Awakening, who are serving as midwives to the new generation, which has a different worldview than we do. Have you noticed, any of you got little kids in your life? Young people? Totally different worldview. I believe, you've heard me say this, I believe there's a new species arising here on the planet called Homo agapian. That's a name I made up. Because they come more from the heart than they do from the head. The head tells us all the things that we cannot do, all the problems that cannot be solved. The heart says, watch this. The heart says, I know there's a solution. I may not know what it is, but I know it's there. And that is the first step. The heart says, God is my source. Whether it uses the word God or not, God doesn't get hung up in what you call God. God doesn't even have a name, probably. God is principle, the principle of love. So with God as our source, both as a community and as individuals, we can be in the flow. We can be moving from being in a sea of abundance to manifesting prosperity and manifesting it for everyone. I'm going to share with you one of my favorite poems. This was written by James Dillett Freeman back in 1981 and published in the Daily Word magazine. Interestingly enough, I've never found this poem anywhere else, but this poem changed my life, and I believe it demonstrates the change that can happen when we shift from trusting in the world to trusting in God. We were not meant for bays and shallows, for safe sailing never out of sight of shore. Mariners, oh, we were meant for more. Ours are the deeps, the seas we do not know, the seas where none before have dared to go, the seas of faith where only strange winds blow. Leaving known landfalls for the fainter-hearted, we seek the undiscovered, the uncharted. Where the last voyage ends, there let ours be started. Thank you.